Hey, welcome to another edition of Coffee with the Goose. You know we talk about things that are interesting, fascinating, and irritating. I am the Goose, so glad you joined me again. Got a lot of interesting stuff to talk about as the excitement grows over the upcoming Manny Pacquiao Errol Spence Jr. fight in Las Vegas. But gotta start with our coffee as we always do. Gotta have my PEDs, right? My coffee is, very strong, like my opinion. Got some creamer in there. Yes, it's dog approved too. Creamer in there to make it sweet, just like me. All right, what's the latest on the Pacquiao-Spence front? Well, you knew it was just a matter of time before Freddie Roach tossed his 2 cents in. And when Freddie speaks, it's kind of like E.F. Hutton. When E.F. Hutton speaks, remember that? Okay, I'm giving away my age there, old commercial. When Freddie Roach speaks, people listen. Why? Because Freddie Roach is he wasn't just a great fighter in his day in the ring, but he is a Hall of Fame trainer for Manny Pacquiao and many other champions. And Freddie finally came out and said, look, Pacquiao's going to win. Pacquiao always fights the best. Of course, that's true. And he said, if it's not going to be Mayweather, it's going to be Errol Spence Jr. Line them up. And Freddie Roach is confident, and I think anybody who follows Manny Pacquiao in his career and the great team he has behind him, including Freddie Roach, beware. They're always ready. The fight, just to remind you, coming up on August 21st in Las Vegas, a championship fight. Of course, Errol Spence Jr. undefeated. The Dallas area native is 27-0 with 21 KOs. He is the WBC and IBF World Welterweight title holder. Manny Pacquiao, after his last fight 2 years ago, was the WBA title holder. That was after defeating Keith Thurman, but the WBA took his title away, kinda. A couple of months ago because he hadn't seen action in so long. And of course, we've been through this before. There's a reason Pacquiao hasn't fought in 2 years. It's because of COVID, and he won't fight in front of an empty arena. That's just what's the point, right? But it appears this may happen. I'm not making a prediction. The WBA, in light of this announced fight, may go ahead and give the title back to him. He has been a champion in recess. Kind of like Pope Benedict was the, Pope, but not the Pope, but still the Pope. I don't know. So anyhow, it's an exciting fight, a world welterweight title bout between the unbeaten champion Errol Spence Jr. and the 8-division world champion and sure thing Hall of Famer Manny Pacquiao. Of course, and we just heard from one of my viewers a short time ago as we did a live show, the odds, the betting odds in Vegas it's so one-sided, it's ridiculous, that Errol Spence is going to win according to the betting crowd, and Pacquiao has no business even being in the same building. But we know that'll change as the fight draws nearer. Almost everybody, including those who respect Pacquiao, think Spence is going to win. But there's a few exceptions. Freddie Roach, of course. Oscar De La Hoya, the great Hall of Famer who Manny made retire years ago, said, yeah, Manny's going to beat Errol Spence Jr. And even Floyd Mayweather gave his compliments to Manny, saying, beware, Mr. Spence. Manny is a very dangerous animal, and that is true. And Floyd, by the way, for those of you, and I promise I'll just keep it very short here. I don't pick on Floyd. Floyd's a great champion. We respect him as a boxer. But to those of you who say, oh, he just toyed with Manny and he was the easiest opponent of all, well, according to Floyd, he was the best opponent he's ever had. So don't climb onto that bandwagon. Manny recently has answered some questions. Of course, he said that speed is the key, and he knows that, and that's always been his advantage because he's used to fighting people who are taller with greater reach and allegedly stronger. But Manny, with his great speed, not only with the fists but also with the feet, will take advantage of that. And as far as the so-called ring rust. Manny says, hey, don't worry. I always stay in shape. And the ring rust, especially for an older fighter, he's 42, is an advantage because rest is good. Nothing wrong with that as long as you stay, in shape and ready to go. One of my fellow YouTubers who loves to spread rumors, and of course I ain't mentioning names, he says, oh, Manny's overconfident. I knew before even looking into it that wasn't true because that's not what Manny does. That's like saying, yeah, Pacquiao's talking trash. No, he never does that either. So is he confident? Yes. A healthy confidence with a good dose of reality and homework, but not overconfident, no. I don't think Pacquiao's going to overlook or take any of his opponents lightly. That's not likely. What about Errol Spence Jr.? Is he ready? Well, I'm sure he will be. He's still young. He is 31. So this will be the second fight in a row Pacquiao has fought somebody 11 years younger than him. But Spence is still in his prime, even, that car crash notwithstanding. He's 31 years old. I mentioned this before. I gained immense respect for Spence after that win over Sean Porter a couple of years ago. But then the car crash, and we're still not sure. I'm not sure because I've been to the hospital many times. I know all about being hurt and having to recover physically and mentally. Never forget the mental part, okay? I'm still not sure he's the Errol Spence Jr. of old because the only fight he's had since that crash was in, I believe, December of last year against Danny Garcia. It was a decision victory. By the way, Spence, his last 3 fights have been decision victories. So he's not, knock him out, line him up, knock him out. That's not the case. But that fight, and it was admirable, a good win over a former champion in Danny Garcia, but he was never tested with the punching power of Garcia. So that wasn't a problem. And plus, Spence is a very able and talented boxer as well as a fighter. So we still have not seen Errol Spence's chin tested. And we will in August because Pacquiao is going to bring it. He's not going to dance around and tap, tap, tap. That's not what he does. So it's going to be interesting to see, and we'll find out in the first few rounds whether Spence has, the ability physically to take a punch and mentally. Like I said a minute ago, it's the mental game is a huge part of this. So we'll see. What is going to be the key for victory for Manny Pacquiao? The 3 keys, his speed, his footwork, and the angles. Those are all his advantages he has over all of his opponents. Those are the 3 things he must take advantage of against Errol Spence Jr. And he has that advantage. Spence, for all his gifts, he's a great, great fighter. He's not as quick as Manny. He doesn't have the footwork that Manny does, and nobody is able to fight or defend against those different angles that Manny Pacquiao is going to throw at you. And we've heard it from many fighters in the past that Pacquiao has defeated. You cannot try as you might. You're not going to find a sparring partner who is going to mimic what Manny Pacquiao does in the ring. A lot of it is just study the tape, and hopefully you've got a good team at your back to help you prepare for the fight. And I think Spence does. The only question I have, and the question I have for Spence is, of course, the chin. But the only question I have, and I think you guys have too, with Pacquiao, the thing we need to be concerned with as Pacquiao fans, is his stamina. Now, throughout his career, that's never been a problem. But don't forget, he's 42. And just because he's 42 doesn't mean that he can't handle himself in the ring. Of course he can. He's Manny Pacquiao. But will he be able to maintain that level going into the championship rounds? I don't know. He, I think, faded a little bit in the later half of his fight with Keith Thurman 2 years ago. Who knows whether that was a result of his age or training or just the fact that Thurman was and is a great fighter. And he is. Don't don't underestimate Thurman. He brought a good game, and he stood there like a man, especially after getting knocked down against Pacquiao. So that was a great fight. And so we're not really sure whether the stamina issue was a result of his opponent just being that good or whether it was his age. We don't know. And age is going to catch up to you sooner or later. Even Manny Pacquiao, he's only human, right? Anyhow, that's all I got for you here. Of course, we got a couple of other big fights. One of them not really a fight. It's Floyd against somebody, some Disney star. I'm not even going to mention the guy's name anymore because I don't like him. I don't like this guy or his brother. Don't hate him, just don't like him. And they're not fighters. It's Floyd getting money, and good for you, Floyd. But the big heavyweight bout in June, I'm excited to see that. It is the trifecta, the third match between Tyson Fury, the great heavyweight champion, and equally great former champion Deontay Wilder. Those are two very, what's that? What? No. Anthony Joshua, that didn't happen. Oh, shoot. Right. Joshua's going to fight, and I can't remember the guy's name. It's a mandatory, the WBO is saying, hey, you have to fight this guy now. And so, yeah, he's not going to fight Fury. So, yeah, it's going to be Deontay Wilder again. So, yeah. So, what a war that's going to be. Tyson Fury's a beast, by the way. He's a great fighter. Anyhow, that's all I got for you guys now. Thank you so much for watching Coffee with the Goose. Not only do my producer Jude and I really appreciate you guys, but we're learning. You're a smart crowd. You guys bring up topics that we don't see on any other YouTube channel. You guys are on top of your game, so we really appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing. And we have many more shows to come. All right? You guys take care.